Hey everyone, my name's Alexandra and I am a watercolor artist. Since we are now well into summer, I was thinking that I would teach you guys how to paint watercolor watermelons. Let's get started. For supplies today, you guys will need a piece of watercolor paper. I'm using 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. I have 2 cups of water, one for clean, one for dirty water, a napkin for drying my paintbrushes. For paintbrushes, I'm using Princeton brushes numbers 12, 8, and 2. And lastly, for paint, I'm using a combination of Winsor and Newton's artist grade paints, but for colors, you guys will mostly need some sort of red or pink, yellow, and a green. For today's tutorial, we're going to be using mostly a wet on wet technique. If you are either new to watercolor or haven't heard what this is yet, I do have a tutorial on 3 essential watercolor techniques. I have it linked above here, so if you guys want to pause this video and check it out first, it'll be super helpful as you go on with this video. Otherwise, we are going to jump right in. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm taking my larger brush. So I'm using my number 12 here, and I want to fully saturate it in my cup of water. And I am just going to go straight onto my page, and I'm going to paint a triangle or a watermelon shape. If it's easier for you guys to draw it out ahead of time, feel free to do that as well. The easiest way I find to do it is to start with the outline, and then we can go ahead and just fill it all in with water. So at the top, I'm doing sort of a curved line here, just to imitate that round part of the watermelon. It's gonna be a little tricky to see on camera right now, but as soon as I add color in, you guys will be able to see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm fully saturating my page with water. I'm making sure that it's not too much so that if I was to lift my page up, it would be dripping. But my page is fully soaked, and I might even let it soak into the paper a little bit and then go over a second time. One of the things you guys could do too to prevent your paper from buckling is either tape it down, or you could stretch your paper beforehand. If you guys are wanting to see more of what that is, let me know and I could do a tutorial on how to stretch watercolor paper. Okay, so now that it is fully wet, we're gonna go in and add some color, and you guys will be able to see more of what I'm actually doing here now. So I'm going into my red paint. I'm just gonna mix a little bit of red and a little bit of pink to get a nice color for my watermelon. And I'm gonna go straight in to where I've added the water and just start painting my color in. And I'm gonna let it bleed into all of the spots where I've added water. Now towards the top of where I've painted, I'm going to follow that sort of arch shape that I did, and then I'm bringing the color down. For our purposes, I want to make a nice and vibrant watermelon slice, so I'm going to go in and add some more pigmented paint now, going for sort of between a creamy and milky consistency. And I'm simply just painting it in. Often when you're looking at a watermelon, especially because they have parts that sort of shine and reflect, it's not all an even dark color. So that is why I like to use this technique. Okay, so now that I've done that, we need to continue to work quickly while it's still wet. And we are going to jump right in to the top portion of our watermelon. So I'm going to go ahead and paint a green line across the top. And I can see that my paper started to dry a little bit, which is okay. I can actually just go back in. I'm gonna rinse in my clean water next because I want it to be a nice clear color and not have any pink in it. I can go back in with a wet brush and simply just paint over that portion that dried because I want it to kind of connect with where the pink is here. So I'm just re-wetting it there. And then I can even go over it a second time where I added the green so that it's just a little bit wider. And you can see how it's just bleeding down from the top. So now my page is still nice and wet, so I can actually just continue to work at what I'm painting here and add more color and more brightness to it. So I'm just going to continue by adding more of a red paint into my watermelon slice. Making sure to leave some of the variation in the shading, just so that it looks a little bit more natural. So now while I let that dry, I can go back into the top part of my watermelon here, and I'm just gonna paint a little bit of a brighter color using my number 2 brush. We're gonna go right along the top here. Right, and that is it for the base of our watermelon. I'm gonna let it dry and then we're gonna go in and add some details. Now that that's fully dry, we're gonna go in and we're gonna add some details. So the first thing that we're going to do is just make our painting a little bit brighter and a little bit more vibrant. So I'm going to go in with some of my yellow paint that I have. And I'm actually just gonna go over top of this green edge that I've painted. And by using this glazing technique, I'm just getting more of a vibrant green. And I want to do sort of the same thing with some of the red parts of my watermelon. And I'm gonna mix a bit of yellow and red here. And using a glazing technique, I'm just going to paint directly on top of where I've already painted. I'm just adding some brightness to my painting. And I'm just sort of fading it out towards the edge here that kind of fades into everything around it. But I just want to make this a little bit more realistic and a little bit more bright. One of the things you'll notice with watercolor is that once the paint's dry, it often shows up a lot lighter than when you initially put the paints down, which is why either it's a good idea to start by painting a little bit darker than the shade you want your painting to end up as, or to make sure that you incorporate a lot of layering into your painting and you can build on the colors you've done previously. So now we're gonna let this layer dry and then we'll go in and we'll add our watermelon seeds. So now that that layer is dry, we can go ahead and add our seeds into our watermelon. So I've mixed up a black paint here just by using a combination of red, yellow, and blue. But if you guys have black paint, or you can use black pen for this part, we are just going to scatter seeds throughout our watermelon. So to do this, I am just painting little teardrop shapes. And I'm just going to do a mix of them throughout my painting. All right, now that you've added the seeds in, that is it for our watermelon tutorial. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you followed along, make sure to tag me on Instagram at Alexandra Victoria Studio and share your creations with me. Also, if you haven't already, please make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and comment what you'd like to learn next time. We'll see you next time.